welcome back to Linda's Pantry, and today, as you see in the title, we're going to go ahead and can up some pork and beans. And I start with the basics of using a ball canning recipe, and I've made their exact recipe before and it's really good, but I've also done it where I've doctored it up just a little bit more and they taste closer to baked beans, or what I would make homemade baked beans like. So that's what we're going to do today, and still following all the safety guidelines, the timing, everything that's involved in pressure canning. And you have to pressure can beans. They are a low acid food, so this is a great thing to put in the canner. And if you're canning, you want a canner full, you can add just plain beans to your canning session, or meats, or anything that takes the same amount of time. But today we're going to do a pretty large batch, and I'm going to use pint jars. So I've got here some cut up bacon. Now the recipes all call for salt pork, but to me that's just putting a bunch of fat in there, and I don't really want that. I like that smoky flavor, and we're going to add some smoky flavor as well. That's going to go in my jars. I've got, in this pan, I'm going to make the sauce. Okay, in this pan you're going to want a couple quarts of tomato juice. And this is from our garden last year. So set that aside. I forgot to open my other. This is tomato sauce, so we're gonna put that in there. My sauce is pretty close, except that I add a little bit of seasoning in there, so it's not just plain. Set that over there. And you're gonna need more sauce than you think. So, and then in some respects, maybe less than what you think. I'm going to add liquid smoke to this. I want some smoky flavor, and it is applewood smoke. So 1.5 tablespoons of liquid smoke. And in this is a teaspoon of allspice and a teaspoon of clove. This turns to liquid. Remember, when you get sugar hot, it melts to liquid. 2 cups of brown sugar, not packed. I've got 3 medium to small onions. I really love the onion flavor in here, and everybody really enjoys my beans, so that's what we're going to do here. Put that in there. Give that a stir. And this is a no salt recipe, so there's no sodium in here, added anyway. It just comes by it naturally. And then molasses. You gotta have molasses. And I'm just gonna eyeball. I want about 1 cup, so I'm eyeballing what I think. And I can go also by color. And we're gonna put this on the stove to, you want a rich brick color. And you can taste it at this point and make sure that you've got it right. If you need to adjust anything, you certainly can. This is a very flexible recipe, except for the safety precautions with home canning. And I'll be using both Tadler lids and regular button top lids for this process. So let's get to getting our beans ready. Now, I did not soak them overnight. I just didn't really think about doing this until this morning. So what I'm doing is the quick soak method. You want to make sure that you quick soak, and then you can start your process, because those beans need to be pretty well swollen by the time you put them in the jars. You're only packing them 3/4 of the way full, so they can continue, and you have room for sauce. And how delicious. Okay, so let me get this on the stove and get it simmering, and I'll be right back when we're putting it in the jars. So guys, I'm done with the process of getting these quick soaked. And when you quick soak beans, and these are navy beans, small white beans work, you bring them to a boil for 2-3 minutes, then you shut the burner off and let them sit with the lid on, and just let them sit in there for an hour. So you've got a really al dente kind of a bean. They're going to be good. Anyways, you fill your jars, your hot jars, out of the dishwasher, or however you keep your jars hot. I try to time it. I know how long it takes my dishwasher to get to this point, so I time everything so I still have hot jars. And your jars, honest and truly, they've been tempered in that dishwasher, so you're usually good to go. You're going to make sure you have your bubbler, and I'm going to put a few pieces of bacon, and I've cut these into little 1/2-inch strips. So I want a nice bacon flavor, so maybe 5 or 6 pieces of bacon. And then we're gonna add our sauce. And I let that simmer on the stove for about 20 minutes. I really wanted the onions to release all their flavor. Go ahead and put your canning funnel there. And this can get really messy. And you see it coming down the jar, and I will bring you in close so you can really see well. Debubble. Debubble. Get some more of that juice. And you're gonna bring it up to 1 inch of headspace. And that looks about right there. And make sure you really get in there and debubble that. The beans are going to continue to cook in this process. They're not going to swell a whole lot more, but a little bit. So now we've got our clean cloth, our vinegar right there, and we're going to go around the rim of the jar. And somebody asked me, if you overfill your jar, what will happen? Your cap will buckle. So, and that is a failed process. And I'm going to put this in the warm canner. My canner is sitting at about 180 degrees, and finger tight tip, or tip tight. I can never say that right. All right, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So let's get some beans in this jar. And this is a fun and easy process. For beginner canners, this is a great way to start, because it is really fun. I'm gonna go ahead and put my bacon in at this point. I'm about halfway full. Give yourself 5 or 6 or 7 pieces of bacon in there. And 3/4 full. And then we're gonna go ahead and put our beautiful sauce down here. I don't wanna make a mess. I always christen whatever towel I've got, so make sure you debubble. And I can see that it's below the 1 inch headspace, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Sometimes when you debubble, it changes how much headspace you have. So that's perfect. Get another hot jar out. And there you go. Perfect amount of headspace. Oh, and it just looks beautiful. Get your cloths. In fact, I just want a smidge more. Just because I can here. It smells delicious. And I had my husband do a taste test, and I got a thumbs up already. So we're good to go on. Get that. Ring on and fingertip tight. And in the canner it goes. And those are absolutely beautiful. And I can't wait. Can this at 15 pounds pressure because of my altitude. I'm at 4,500 feet above sea level. And so you do need to can this for 75 minutes. Now, the ball canning book says 1 hour and 5 minutes. And it's got beans and meat in it, and then they contradict themselves when you go to can just beans or just meat. It's 75 minutes. So I'm gonna err on the side of caution, and it's going in for 75 minutes. I'm not gonna take any chances. And debubble, and here we go. So I will bring you back when there's something else to show you. And I am gonna let my canner vent for 10 full minutes before I put my weight on. Once my weighted gauge comes up to 15 pounds, I'll start my timing, and it'll be 75 minutes for these pint jars. So, and I'm using wide mouth and narrow, button top and Tadler, and these are the older Tadler lids. So they, you do need to, in fact, I'll show you one. You do need to back off when you tighten them. You do fingertip tight, and then you back off a smidge when it's a Tadler lid. So, all right, in the canner. So I've got my jars all in the canner, and that made 13 1-pint jars. I've got 9 on the bottom and 4 on the top. And the last 2 jars, I ran out of sauce, and I thought I don't want to make another batch of sauce, so take note, make extra sauce. What I did with the last 2 jars, because I didn't want to waste the beans, waste not, want not, I went ahead and I had an open jar of my maple barbecue sauce in the refrigerator. Had about that much left in the quart, and so I just thinned it down with some water and I topped it with that and the remaining bacon. So those 2 jars won't have any onions in them, and they'll taste a little different, but we may end up with a new favorite recipe, who knows. So I've turned my burners on high. I've got my lid cranked down opposite. You always screw on your thumb screws opposite of each other so you level that canner lid. And then once this starts venting out of the pitcock and I get a steady stream of steam, I'll time that for 10 minutes and let it vent, get all the excess air out of the canner and start pressurizing. This is a really important step. I see a lot of people skip this. You shouldn't skip this step, no matter what kind of canner you have. All the canning books and all the instruction books that go with canners tell you to do this. So when that steady stream comes on, then I'm going to put a 15-pound weight on, and the weight is this one, and it's 5, 10, and 15. So you put it on the appropriate hole, put it on there, and I'll let it come up to pressure, and it's going to come up to 15 pounds pressure, and that's because of my altitude. That brings that canner up to 250 degrees, and so at 240 degrees you kill botulism, microorganisms, everything that would make this food dangerous without doing this, and makes it shelf stable. 250 degrees is fantastic. So that being said, we're gonna let that go for 75 minutes according to Pint's directions for beans and meat. I don't know why the Ball Canning book has that timing. If any of you know the answer to that question, go ahead and share it in the comment section below, because somebody's gonna either have the answer or maybe it was a typo, I don't know, but it says it on 2 different recipes that I read for beans. So I'd just rather be safe. And then when these are all done, I'll bring you back and we'll take them out of the canner and I'll show you what we got. And I can't wait. We're going to have some of these for dinner. I'm super excited. All right. Oh, yeah, and if you like this, go ahead and check out the links below, because I'll have a link to the canner. I'll also put a link to the jar boxes I use to store my canning jars. They're fantastic. You're able to stack them. It keeps direct sunlight out. If you ever had a spillage, let's say one of your jars failed, and that happens, you know, like once every couple of years I might have something, you know, that I think it's only happened to me a couple of times, but if you do have something spill, because you shouldn't store your rings on your jars unless they're very loosely just to have a place to put them, and I quite often do that, but I don't screw them down. If that lid pops off because of spoilage and you actually have a mess, it's isolated inside the area in the jar box. So they're another plus, and they're indestructible. They're really nice. So, okay, let's get to canning. I'm super excited. All right, guys, so the canner has come down off of pressure. This pressure canned for a full 75 minutes. Let it come down on its own, and it takes about 45 minutes for this to cool all the way down. So, and I have to stay in the kitchen, so I'm making cinnamon rolls. I'm doing all kinds of other stuff to stay right next to or near it, so I can make sure, occasionally look over and make sure it was still maintaining 15 pounds of pressure, which on my stove, it's just below a 7, so just below a medium high, almost to a medium, to keep and maintain that 15 pounds. So we're gonna take this out. Ooh, they look beautiful, and I already hear jars popping. Now I've got a couple Tadler lids right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten those all the way and put that there, and another Tadler. Ooh, they're so pretty. Oh my gosh. And these are the 2 right here. These 2 squatty ones right there are the ones that I use the barbecue sauce. So there's no onions in there, but oh so delicious. And then do not tighten the lids on the rings. Let's get a fork to kind of lift my rack out. And I do see that we've got some evacuation of sauce, but that's normal. Okay. Woo. And 13 pints of beans. Ooh, and these are going to be just perfect for dinner. In fact, I probably won't even have to heat them up. All right. Yeah, a little bit, but it looks like they're maintaining the, so far the liquid looks like it's up to the headspace. So hopefully we didn't lose too much. Another Tatler lid here, 2 of them. So let's get these tightened. And again, I say this every time I use Tatler lids now, because I did see a video and people comment on that video all the time. A gentleman actually had one of those lids spewing and hissing, and he went to tighten it, and it exploded on him and gave him some pretty serious burns. So if you ever hear a jar hissing, and once in a while you'll hear that, leave that jar alone. It is not worth it, and if it doesn't seal, so what? I feel like if you've got a good seal, you're gonna get good results anyway, even if you didn't tighten them, but that's what the directions say to do. The new Tatler lids are a little bit different. In fact, I'm going to do an inventory on how many Tatlers I have. I have quite a few dozen, but if I'm shy of the amount of jars I have, then I might order some of the new ones just to see how they are. And they pay for themselves within a couple canning sessions. I've only had a few honestly fail on me, and oh man, those beans look beautiful. Let's see, let me give you a close-up of what these bad boys look like. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Still boiling in the jar, and I have to stand on my tippy toes. Beautiful brick color. Just going to be delicious. That sauce was so full of flavor. So guys, I hope it inspires you to go step outside that box, and if you're thinking about canning, go ahead and jump in and do it. This is highly addictive, but very healthy. Now, this is enough pork and beans for us for the next year. We'll have it a few times this summer with barbecue. I'll use it as a side dish now and then. And if we go through them, if it's so good that we go through them too fast, then we'll can up another batch. And it cost me so little to do this. To buy a 15-ounce can of barbecue beans or baked beans or even pork and beans in the store, and then you get that tinny flavor to it, it's pretty expensive for what you get. And so I suggest that you go ahead and try your hand at doing it yourself. It's super easy. There's great recipes in the Ball Canning book. There's resources online. You can go online and go to the National oh gosh, it's for food preservation. I'm sorry. I've got about 7 canning books, so I refer to them and cross-reference back and forth. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I use all the safety guidelines as far as timing goes. And so like the question I had about their timing, that didn't make sense to me. So I used my better judgment and went for a little bit longer timing. And I feel safe about what I did. So that being said, guys, if you like this video, I hope you give me a thumbs up, share it on your Facebook page, and yeah, tell me what you're canning or what you're planning to can. I know there's a lot of people out there that have purchased an All-American canner and haven't even used it yet. So don't wait for the summer vegetables, because you can do this for your summer barbecues and say, look what I did. All right, I can't wait to